need truth, this is the place for you. No need to complicate it, it's best to keep it basic. Open the book, the word itself approved. He's Alpha and Omega, the answer since the early ages. What you should do is learn about the greatest. Just so you know, our door is always open. Let's study together instead of debating. Share our differences, let love heal all that's broken. If you need truth, this is the place for you. No need to complicate it, it's best to keep it basic. Open the book, the word itself approved. He's Alpha and Omega, the answer since the early ages. What you should do is learn about the greatest. Just so you know, our door is always open. Let's study together instead of debating. Share our differences, let love heal all that's broken.
And shalom to everyone. So glad to have you with us today. Welcome to the Proceeding Word. We are here to hear what Yahweh has to say unto us each and every day. What an opportunity to come before him and learn of him and be embraced by him and shared by him and understand what he is to us and why he is to us and how he is to us and what it means for him to be with us and toward us for all things him. Well, we're looking forward to it. Please, today you want to ping everybody into the room that you can. I want to make sure we teach and share today from a perspective that I think is extremely important for many of us to listen. You all know that I oversee a great deal of ministries, and I don't, bring them up on platforms and things of that nature, but I do deal with a lot of the problems that a lot of our pastors have within. And a lot of the ministers that we have under those pastors deal with, and a lot of those pastors in their outreach, as well as the ministry in its outreach, deals with and does. So today I want y'all to do me a favor. One, I want you to share this room because it's going to be fire. Because this room is going to be fire. And I want to make sure you guys get this because it's really important. Share the room. Those of you who are coming in on our YouTube, I'm not going to say this, but one time, YouTube and Facebook, please hit the heart sign. Please hit the share. Please hit the subscribe. And please hit the notification button when you come onto the platform of the visual feed. We won't be long, but we're going to be very, very, very empowering today. So I want everybody to go ahead and share and ping some people into the room, especially leaders, especially people you believe are leaders, and also people who are, aspiring to leadership. It doesn't matter if it's in business or in ministry. That I have an extensive career in both. And today I want to share from that experience how to practically live in the kingdom of Elohim with those particulars under belt and moving forward. So I'm going to ask you guys to do something I don't usually do. I'm going to share the club here today. I'm going to share it myself on there we go. Share it on platform. There we go. Hope that works. All good. And I'm hoping that a few of you could help me do that as well. I think this is going to be edifying to people around you and people that you may be with in business, in ministry. We're going to see a few things. And today I'm going to talk from my heart. It's going to be raw. Y'all good with that? Can we do raw today? Moderators, please send down microphones to everybody. Give invitations to everybody. And I'm hoping that you guys, thank you for sharing the room. The two of you that did, appreciate you. On Clubhouse, thank you for those sharing it over on Facebook. We're about to get started on YouTube as well. Father, we come before you in the mighty and in the precious name of Yahushua HaMashiach, who to many is Jesus the Christ. We bless, exalt, and extol your name for who you are and why you are in our lives. We're asking you right now that you would take this opportunity to share with us what things we need to know today about who you are and why you are in our lives. We are always trying to live and do what we want to do, and we don't always do what's right. But we do know that you know what is right, and you will share us and teach us and care for us about that which is right and pertinent in your sight today. Give us your wisdom. I decrease, more importantly, I repent as a human. Thoughts that I've had this morning, ideas that I had this morning, that I had up until broadcast. Father, grateful that I've not performed or run to those thoughts and produced deeds out of them, but the fact that they were there, I repent for that. And I ask you, by your grace, please, as I submit to it, but for and by your grace, there go I, that Father, in this space of time, that you would help us and grace us and allow for us to realize and understand that we need you more than we ever thought we did. So today, in this moment of time, if it wasn't for your grace, we don't know where we'd be. Well, we got a good idea, but for and by your grace, there go I. I ask you to commandeer this person. I surrender myself to you and teach us. I decrease anything and everything of VW that Adonai would increase. Ruach HaKodesh, we give you this platform. Yahweh, you are Elohim. We give you this platform. Train, teach, show, and share your people in the spirit of love that we give it in, as well as the spirit and truth and concrete vetting and proof of your word, that we cannot deny it or unread it. And no matter how we feel about it, man shall not live by bread alone, but by every word that proceeds out of the mouth of you, Yahweh, our Elohim. We ask this in the precious name of Yeshua HaMashiach. We all say, Amen. All right, everybody, I'm going to do it. I don't see anybody else. Well, I think y'all may have. You probably have done it. I'm going to go down my list of people to invite, and I'm just going to hit my whole list until I'm told I can't invite no more people. That's just how deep this is today. All right, let me see what I got. 1. All right, 2. Boom. I'm getting them all. Bam. 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 Bam, bam. Invite. I'm doing it. I'm really doing it. He's doing it for real. He's doing it. He's really doing it. He's doing it. He is doing it. Oh, what a thing he has done, and he won't stop. He's still going. And he has more yet to go. Oh my goodness. Yes, he's doing it. It's important. So I want everyone to learn this today. And I'm only going to teach it once. You get the replays, but I want everyone to get it because it's extremely important. Yeah. Yep, it is. I want us to learn it. I really want us to embrace it. I need us to know it because it puts us in a position of great victory when we can put ourselves beyond ourselves and come into him who has given us life, help, hope, and strength. So for those of you who know, I don't do this, but I'm doing it today. What a day. All righty. So let's get started. Let's get going. Let's get moving. Let's get grooving. And let's learn all about Elohim. All right, guys. Here we go. All right. So I did my part. Hope you'll do yours. Hope it'll make sense to you. Hope we can rock with it. Hope that it comes forward in a very good way. Okay. Boom, boom, boom. All right, I'm done. I can't invite no more. I got so many. I didn't realize I had that many people I could invite. Wow. All right. Wow. Yeah, I can't do this no more. All right, I've done enough. I'm in enough trouble. All righty. All right. So Welcome to the proceeding word today. We got a little bit to talk about. I know we've been delayed getting to our point, but I want to make sure that we get an opportunity to share this with as many people as possible. We actually had a question just come in. I'm going to answer that question. And I hope those who have sent that question are visible for that question, because it's an answer necessary to be had. So I got a texted. I don't even usually do this. I almost got upset with this person for texting me while I'm in the middle of a broadcast, because I don't do this. And I happen to have my phone in hand sending out invitations while on Clubhouse, which is the only reason I saw this text. But they had a real good question. They said, they said, interpret this. The question was, please interpret this. They said, interpret this. And the question was, how you treat people is a ministry. And it matters more than any stage or platform you speak, preach, or sing on. Very good statement. I like that statement, no matter what you do. And some people use that to be negative and make digs at other people. But sometimes it is just a real raw fact. And usually the people that actually feel that perspective is one that is of a necessity to share. This person didn't. I'm just talking in general. That we oftentimes can lose sight that remember, people, to always make sure where you're pointing at, you don't have five fingers pointing back at you. Because I was telling somebody, you can't treat people just any old kind of way. And I got these fingers pointing at me, and I ended up treating somebody out of an emotion I was feeling, right? And it was a negative experience. And so even as I teach life about life, I still have to live life and learn from life and the very same teachings about life. And that's a lot about what we're going to talk about today. So just so you guys know that this thing is really a serious issue. And I want people to understand that it doesn't matter who you are. We are too, as we talked about on Sabbath this week, as we talked about on Friday, and we talked about on Sunday. Esteem each other higher than ourselves. Let's really work to do that. And I'm gonna tell you something. It's easier preached than identified when it's happening. It's easier preached than identified by the preacher when it's happening. I know, because I've done it. I can teach it, preach it. And the funny thing is, let me tell y'all something. The moment you think you know something and you feel the need, this is a part of the tip too. The moment you think you know something and you believe that you can just talk what you heard, taught, and then you need to realize that whatever comes out of your mouth, there's going to be an enemy of faith that's going to come to push that back down your throat, make you choke, and strip your throat with the very words you let come out of your mouth. And you, though know it in head knowledgeably, may not yet know how to operate it practically. And therefore, you gotta literally, now the phrase is practice what you preach. But more importantly, before you even preach it, at least have had a few runs with it yourself. And many people do. We just start talking and we learn something and we think we can just spit it out and let it roll out there. I want to make sure we understand practically, without a bunch of Bible thumping today. I want to talk from experience of a life in ministry, a life in business, and a life in life. The failings, the successes, the mediocre moments, the feastings, the fastings, the famines, all of those elements today, because we got a lot of people right now aspiring and trying to grow up, which everyone should be learning. Never, ever stop learning, people. Never stop learning, people. However, in our aspirations to learn, in our aspirations to attain, we have to make sure we know the process for possessing what we look to attain. So that statement came through by someone, and I'm grateful for it, because it's a true thing. Now, it goes two different ways. And be careful of judging people too, y'all. Let me put this out there. If something happened, I'm gonna tell you why. Be careful of judging people. And especially when you're a leader or you're aspiring to be a leader, all of you people who want to be preachers, want to be pastors, or for that matter, you want to be the next great broadcaster. You want to be you want to have your own platform to earn money, earn influence, earn autonomy on a platform that there is a template for that can be scaled up and duplicated by another individual. And then you get your own platform and, you aspire to use that platform for whatever good, be it for humanity or yourself, that platform can produce some good for you. Be careful of judging others on other platforms and judging others on your platform or your style, your type, your template, your genre. Because you don't know what a person's going through, dealing with. You don't know their triggers, PTSDs. You don't know their level of deliverance. You don't know their level of salvation. You don't know their level of life. Even though you might think because you see what you see, you understand what you see. Many people don't understand what they see. Trust me. So be careful always of judging. If you see something, I want everyone to remember this. It's taken me over 20 years in ministry and a great man by the name of Bishop David Hill. He and I had a wonderful conversation, a mentor of mine, and a teacher of mine at a time I needed to be taught. And I still revere him, honor him, and pull his coattail, pick his head, pick his ear, pick his nose, wherever he got good wisdom, I'm going to go get it. And so he taught me. He says, you as a leader, I'm already this, pretty supposedly, impressive entity on the landscape of Christendom at that time. And he says, never judge another platform because you really don't know where they're at. The platform could be a platform they bought from Home Depot pre-assembled. And though it looks like one that's been built by professionals, it was built by someone else who was a professional at building that platform, but the person on it will front like they built it. And it will be literally what we call in the Jersey area, the perpetrating of a fraud. So you never know, and that's not like a negative connotation, it's just a reality of an assessment. You never know who is going through what or understands what, and how many people say things not just to say it, but because we can say it or we can do it. So be careful of judging folk because you don't have to judge folk. And what he taught me was when you see something, here's what he taught me. When you see something, don't assume you understand it. If Elohim, God, let you see it, Elohim wants you to bring it to him, Elohim, so he can teach you about it. So there's situations you might think you can judge or you might feel you should judge. And Yahweh wants you to know that if I let you see it, I'm trusting you with it because it's going to be an instruction for you in your life. The fact that you saw it, bring it to me in prayer. And let's see how it applies to your life. One of the greatest pieces of advice I could have ever gotten from a great man who too lived through many different things that are necessary for us as ministers to learn how to live and walk through life. So here's the catch. I want you to get this. I want you to understand this with clarity. And I want you to understand this with the heart and the peace that only Elohim can give. Be careful of judging people. And you don't think you are when you do, but you really do. I judged somebody just the last night. I lost my Cowboys. My Cowboys lost. I am always true to a fault. On here is a picture of my brother who's deceased. So it's just a cup, he and I. It's a thing of memorial to him. But we are Cowboy fans, and we've been Cowboy fans since '69. Well, I've been. He was born many years later. But my Cowboys lost horribly last night. They lost uncharacteristic of their potential. I'm going to say it again. My American NFL football team lost a game that by what they possess, they should have gotten victory over. They should have been successful and triumphant. And the decisions that these victorious and victory potential possessing people had, they made poor decisions, and then they ran out of time to fix those decisions. The race is not given to the swift nor the strong, but to he who endures to the end. Consistency. So my Cowboys, I brag and celebrate when we have victory. And I don't bandwagon jump because we lost. I'm still a Cowboy fan, and they are my team. And I'm going to be with them just because they lost. They made poor decisions. They're not to be thrown away. They need to be readjusted. Did it hurt my heart? Did it disappoint me greatly? Am I throwing them under the bus and telling everybody to get fired? No, we got to retool some things, reuse people, reassess how we use people. But I don't want anybody on that team to be hurt or damaged financially or any other way to their reputation. But they are still my team. They disappointed me. I was let down by what they did, but they are still today, though they lost yesterday, my team. See, in Christendom, we do this thing where if somebody disappoints us or lets us down, we shoot that wound, and we shoot that wounded person, that wounded individual, because they let you down. Their life's existence isn't predicated on you, and you got enough in your life to not let other people down. So as we have talking pundits and pundits on TV in the sports arena and all these other things, talking negative and what have you, it reminded me of how we can be in Christendom, how we can be at our jobs. When someone lets us down, they made a mistake, their potential was so great, that's why you hooked up with them. But then they make a bonehead choice, bonehead decisions, and a series of them, right? You don't throw the team away because the fan base is still there for that team. But depending on how you deal with those losses and you deal with those disappointments, you can dismantle an entire entity, an empire, unnecessarily. They lost. That's it. Keep moving, build, pick up tomorrow, figure out what you can and what you're going to do. But what we got to make sure we do is not judge people and throw them away because they may have made a poor decision or two or three. Anybody made more than 3 decisions that were poor since you've been saved? I don't care if it was just thinking. Anybody?
Me? Absolutely. I have Apostle.
Did you ever want the people that you disappointed to throw you away?
Not at all. No.
You would like for them to forgive you and give you another opportunity, even if you failed them 97,462 times, right?
That's right. That's correct.
So who gave you the right to feel like you could throw somebody away because they erred? Why can't they get what you would want?
Absolutely. They can.
And from you.
Yes.
So again, be careful how you judge and who you judge and what you judge, because everything you think you judge, everything you think you see isn't what you think you saw. All right. So what are we talking about when you say study to be quiet? Today, I want to help managers. I want to help leaders of organizations. I want to help leaders of businesses. I want to help leaders of churches. I want to help leaders of family. I want to help parents today from a practical application of the proceeding word. Many times when we make the smart decision to educate ourselves, We make the smart decision to get saved. We make the smart decision to go out and get a job. We make the smart decision to find a network to operate within. We come in and we begin to look at what we can learn and what can benefit us in this system we are technically coveting, wanting, because we see that there seems to be some sense, maybe even a moniker of success there that I'm not experiencing in my own life, and that now there are entities that are proving to me that there is a better way of doing certain things. I want to learn it. I want to know it. I want to do it. I've always told you that the kingdom of Elohim is not about preaching as we've redefined, repurposed preaching. The kingdom of Elohim is literally about living. From the time of creation, Elohim created us to do a job. We're supposed to do that job. He gives us instructions on how to accomplish that job and be successful at that job in a world that he's created and made. So while we're doing what his word says to do, or learning what his word says to do, he teaches us that sometimes we have to be still and know. Another place he tells us that we need to, as is our title on our marquee for this particular broadcast, we have to study to be quiet. Well, you know, when you get married, you study your spouse. When you have children, you study your children. When you go to school, whatever your subjects are, you study the medical books, you study the mathematical books, you study the social study books, you study the craft, the trade. If you're theological, you study the Bible. You study the books that are supposed to give you the knowledge in this genre you need to be, as we say, maybe, potentially, an authority. But the thing I liked is what Paul had said in 2 Timothy 2:15. He told Timothy, he said, Timothy, study to show yourself approved, not to the church I have you sitting over. Whoa. Not to the other affiliations of churches over in Corinth, in Thessalonica, in Galatia, in Colossae. I want you, while I'm gone, and with what I left you with, I want you to begin to study, not to show yourself approved to your grandmom and your mom, who, again, part of the presbytery, stirred up, helped to get that gift in you coming out. But Timothy, you're now the pastor of a people in your region, and your oversight and your governance is going to be based on the word. And though you are now the leader there over that organization, to lead them means you have to follow the writ yourself. I promise y'all it's about to get deep and we won't be long. So Paul teaches Timothy that in order to be effective in that thing which you didn't even ask to be a part of, Timothy, I don't believe, asked to be the leader of the Ephesians church. Timothy's knowledge and listening to and allowing to be mentored by the Apostle Paul sort of kind of in Paul's absence made him the obvious choice to continue the teachings that the people were believing would change their lives and give them some moniker of success in a world they'd not experienced real success. So in a Grecian culture, the city of Ephesus, Timothy, when Paul left, became the obvious go-to. And then he says, okay, I'll do it while you're gone, but when you come, you're back in charge, and whatever I do, I'll check with you on, and you let me know if that's okay. And Paul would write letters to Timothy. Timothy would write letters to Paul and ask, what do I do here? This is what I'm hearing. This is the rumble inside of the church. This is the rumble inside of our community. This is the rumble between me and my mom and my mom's mom. You know, what should be done here? How does this work? What does the Bible say? What does the Torah explain? How do you admonish me to practically carry this thing out? So when Timothy is now left to be the leader under the leader, he now is told by the leader, look, Timothy, you're doing good. Just keep doing what the word is we gave you. I'm not telling you what to do. The word does. I'm teaching you and showing you how to go through the word to extract from the word the kind of guidance you would need. And when you get stumped in that, contact me. I will do my best to guide you with more of the word and more records you might not be aware of in the word. He may pull the Tanakh and use it. He may pull the Torah and use it, but he can give insight because he is the resident theologian. So he tells Timothy in 2 Timothy, the second letter to Timothy, in the second chapter. Is it 1 Timothy or 2 Timothy? Make sure I got it right. Because you got to make sure you got it right. 1 Timothy 2:15. No, the 2 Timothy. I knew I was right. 2 Timothy 2:15 goes on to state, let me put it on the board for you guys so you can get this. 2 Timothy 2:15. Now, if you're watching on Facebook, you're going to have the passage up in front of you in just a moment. 2 Timothy 2:15. It says, matter of fact, let me just read verse number 11. I'll read down to 15. It is a faithful saying, for if we be dead with him, Messiah, we shall also live with him. If we suffer, we shall also reign with him. If we deny him, he also will deny us. If we believe not, yet he abides faithful. Don't matter if you believe it. It don't matter if you believe it. Verse 13 says, if we believe not his word, he still abides faithful, meaning it don't matter if you believe it or not. He can't deny himself, no matter whether you do or not. Now look at the next verse. Verse 14 says, of these things put the people, Timothy, in remembrance of, charging the people in Ephesus before Adonai, that they strive not about words to no profit. Don't be caught up in conversations in the church halls and out in the parking lot doing parking lot ministry and getting caught up in cell group studies about stuff that's not pertinent to your salvation. Do not get caught up striving about words, debating about this, that, or the other, talking about studying subject matter that has nothing to do with your salvation. There's no profit to it. The only thing it's going to do, verse 14, is subvert the hearers. Now, the word subvert there is a very important word. It's a Greek word. Now, I told you there are things that we need to know about these definitions we render and we pass over when we read. The word subvert means overturn. It means overthrow, cause catastrophe, create demolition. So when Paul was telling Timothy, hey, son, verse 14 again, I'm in 2 Timothy 2:14. Of these things, put the people in Ephesus in remembrance of, and then charge them before Adonai, that they do not strive about words to no profit. That's why it's so grievous to me when I hear so many leaders bickering and fighting with each other over matters of, what? That has nothing. What's that got to do with my salvation? What's that got to do with your salvation? What's that got to do with us? Well, the Bible says we need to learn this and know this. Listen, stop doing that, because the only thing it's going to do is lead to the subverting of the hearer of those arguments, of those debates. And if they don't have a faith base and we're curious at all of your faith, to hear two people in the faith going at each other, then that person who thought this faith might be for them will have overturned that thought and moved on. And we've not done the purpose of being kingdom-minded ambassadors, citizens, or what have you. So Paul is telling Timothy, listen, keep them in mind of this. Don't have them striving about words to no profit, because the only thing that's going to do is subvert the hearers. He says instead, verse 15, Timothy, study to show yourself approved unto Elohim, not unto your mom, not to me, Timothy, not to any other, Jewish or Pharisee or Sadducee that will come through your region. Don't study to show yourself approved unto them. Study to show yourself approved unto Elohim, a workman that need not be ashamed, but one who can rightly divide the word of truth. Again, shun profane and vain babblings, for they will increase unto more ungodliness. So when we are like the Apostle Paul is to Pastor Timothy, teacher to student, student to teacher, we're learning things. Paul's most wise instructions to Timothy is, I gave you the word of Elohim, study it to know Elohim. Don't study it to know church. Don't study it to be the next temple or the substitution for the temple at Jerusalem, or for that matter, the faith systems you and the Ephesians and the Grecians have come out of. For you were led of these other gods in your days when you were younger. You're not like that anymore. So study to show yourself approved to Elohim. Don't make the mistake I did. I studied to show myself approved to Gamaliel. I studied to show myself approved to Caiaphas, the Gadol Choanim, the high priest. I studied to show myself, worthy to the Sanhedrin and the religious people of the temple. And that has its profit in that genre. But when it comes to kingdom and life and where we've got to get these people and everybody needs to get to, and that's back to the Father, study to show yourself approved to Elohim, not to man. Not to man. Don't try to study to show yourself approved to your favorite commentator of the Bible. Make it your business to show yourself approved to Elohim. And see, what Paul does is he lets Timothy know in the second letter to Timothy. So the first letter was about establishing and keeping order in the church, or setting order in the church of Ephesus. And then the second letter is Timothy applying what he learned in the first book, writing back to Paul about issues from those applications. And then Paul saying, let's pause, pump the brakes for a second. What's the word say? Okay, so don't let them get caught up in vain conversations and shun profane babblings. People going to come in there acting like they know every daggone thing from the planet. Every damnable thing that they know, they're going to think it's something deep that you need to make sure you help them interpret and understand. And because we think we know so much, we think this is a necessary conversation. But I was talking with a pastor just this past week. And I think I was speaking with an evangelist this morning, and we were talking about certain things. And the pastor said, well, what about this over here? And then the evangelist said, well, Apostle, what about that naked man in the garden? I said, listen, guys, do y'all remember the naked man in the garden? Y'all remember that conversation about the naked?
Oh, yes.
Everybody?
Oh, yes. Mm-hmm.
Anybody else? Just me? Just two of us? Okay. So the naked man in the garden was a really good conversation piece, wasn't it?
Yes, it was.
Because why? Now I'm going somewhere. Don't get lost. I'm going somewhere. It was a really good conversation because you were like, who was the naked man, in the garden? Who was flashing Yeshua in the garden, And we made fun of it, right? But here's the catch. And I was talking to this great evangelist who I love dearly, and they were like, I got to study in this, and I had a pastor talking about another subject matter, right? So, but I'm gonna use the one I just got off of not long ago. And I'm talking with this evangelist, and like, yeah, but I was studying this. So you're saying from your perspective that I said, it's only perspective. The only thing that we were able to do in that beautiful, interesting conversation was to show many people who've read the New Testament and swear they know God and swear they know the Bible that y'all missed this streaker in the Garden of Gethsemane. Now, the significance of that streaker, there's a part in it. But when people were like, well, maybe that's the Azalea goat. That's the goat of Azalea, Azael, pardon me. And well, we can't say that because it doesn't typify that. Well, maybe it was an angel. No, it wasn't an angel because it was naked and it had a linen trail. So we know we can process eliminate that was an angel. But my statement was, who else did the Sadducees and the Pharisees besides Yeshua want to really lay hands on? Well, they wanted to lay hands on Lazarus, because at Lazarus' situation and testimony, more people believed on Yeshua. Well, they wanted Yeshua silenced. So to help silence Yeshua, grab him and grab the guy who's now causing him to be looked at. And that was Lazarus. So that part makes sense that Lazarus was in the garden with him, because the Bible says, if you read earlier, once he was coming at that grave, Lazarus never left his side. And the people that came to see Messiah didn't come to see Messiah. They came to see Lazarus. The Bible tells you that. It literally quotes it. They came to see Lazarus, whom Yeshua raised. They didn't come to see Yeshua. They came to see Lazarus. Again, Bible thumpers, people who say we know the Bible, and we it's not a negative thing, it's just a thing. And you're like, wow, we missed that. So the issue is that once you see that, remember, the secret things belong to Elohim. Deuteronomy 29:29. The secret things belong to Elohim. And then whatever Yahweh reveals to the children of men, then we use that as we live practically. But the secret things you're struggling trying to figure out, some things you cannot study out of the Bible to get a conclusive on, because it's a thing that Yahweh had happen. Why was that stripper in the garden? We can eisegete a whole bunch of things. So he doesn't want us getting caught up in, as one of my dear evangelists was doing earlier, man, I'm studying this thing and studying this thing. I said, don't study that. Don't study that. Make note of it. Ruach through Shabbat, Ruach through other studies in your book. We'll cross-reference this again. But don't make it your issue to study it. You get locked in. I'm going to study. I'm going to learn about this naked man in the garden. I'm going to preach it like nobody else because it's a new revelation that nobody's uncovered yet. And a lot of us have that fault. So don't get caught up in issues that do not profit your salvation. That naked man in the garden doesn't profit your salvation. It's a good, piece of trivia. It's a good ancillary piece because the focus is Messiah being arrested. Now, what does that naked man in the garden have to do? I can see that man being Lazarus based on what we have in the writ. Process of elimination. Who could this be? Couldn't have been an angel. Then again, it could be. Couldn't it be the goat of Azael, because it's not a goat, right? Well, Yeshua wasn't a goat neither. He was a man and he was still called the Lamb. I get it. But to get caught up in that, you're not focusing and studying on the things that are of Elohim. Do y'all get that? So Paul's instructions to Timothy was to study to show yourself approved to Elohim. One of the bigger problems we have when we are in ministry, or as I've been afforded the privilege to train managers in secular world, be it Miller Brewing, be it McDonald's Corporation, be it Rico, be it Marriott, all these places I've trained managers and was responsible for the training of managers. I had to learn the processes first. And once I learned the processes, I had to live the processes. And then I elevated through the ranks, having success at those processes before I started to preach those processes to others around me. I couldn't make our first, our first booklet on company policy and procedure. I couldn't write the contracts by and between the company and the union until I first lived through these processes that were suggestions to vet them, prove them, tweak them, and then stabilize them so that we can have consistent growth using this process. And see, what we have to make sure we don't do is once we've learned a new process, once we've heard a new thing, we just automatically go ahead and, yeah, you got to do this, you got to do that. Live it first. Live it first. So to teachers, here's the tip. And to students, here's the tip. Now, when the student is finally ready to learn more, the student can be a child wanting to become an adult, realizing that my little goofy childish ways got to end. When I was a child, I did childish things. When I became a man, I put away childish things. That's a child becoming a student. And now the teacher will appear. When a person who is hired to be the dishwasher now realizes they can take on a job in management, they're no longer just running around taking breaks longer than they need to, talking on the phone, using their phone on the floor. They're like, okay, as management, we can't do this. And if I'm going to make management, I got to stop doing these lesser, jobs mentalities. I got to stop cheating the company if I'm going to be a manager for the company. So you now become a student, right? The student is now ready, and suddenly a upper management will recognize you and come down to become your teacher, and the teacher will appear. In ministry, somebody gets saved now, like Timothy, and they're able to echo and parrot the word of Elohim from the leader that they're learning from. And then suddenly they begin to be put in positions to maybe sometimes say, hey, would you tackle this? Would you touch this? Would you explain that? And then they begin to say, okay, well, I'm ready to really help in the ministry. So let me now go ahead and get educated in the ministry. And they may tell you, well, go to this school and go to that school, or you may go to a school of your choosing, which is choosing. It's perfectly fine. But what has to happen is when the student appears, or the student is ready, the teacher will appear. Now, one of the things that I think we've lost about that process is that both the student and the teacher, in their studies for this aspired position, must in fact first study to be quiet. Let me help you. See, the student, yeah, it's going to touch y'all. Let this work. The student has to learn that I know what I know from this childlike level. The teacher better be someone who is mature enough to understand. And a true teacher will watch those who are matriculating and trying to come up, and they're like, let me help you get up the next ladder. But they already know this. They're not just talking from their head knowledge. They're talking from heart and soul, sweat, blood, and tear knowledge. So what happens is the student now has to study first how to be quiet, because its previous teacher wasn't this teacher. So you have to be quiet to learn this new teacher's voice, this new teacher's ways, this new teacher's different types of nuances. Okay. And then the teacher at a certain phase too has to learn to study to be quiet too. Because in order to help this student, though you may have a great deal of information, you need to be quiet and forget your last student and listen to this one. Because that's the only way you're going to know how to get them where they need to be. When you listen to someone, not for the sake of, benefiting yourself, but for the sake of educating yourself. Well, you can't separate them, Apostle. If I'm benefiting myself, I'm educating myself. That's very true, but understand what we mean by this. If you are talking while the other person is talking, you can't hear them. And if you can't hear them, you're not going to get to know them. And to know them not as a friend, or peer, not as a associate, not as someone who becomes comfortable and familiar, because familiarity, I promise you, it breeds contempt. So it's not that you're trying to hear them to become comfortable with them. You're trying to hear them to comprehend them. I'm not dropping no gems, no nuggets. This is not helping anybody. All right. So when you have a student teacher situation of any genre, both of them have to study to be quiet. In order for me to understand my student, I got to be quiet and listen to them. And listening to them may not mean listening to their voice all the time. It means watch how they move, how they respond. Not being nosy in their life, but whatever they present, pay attention to it so that I know, okay, well, I was going to teach them these 5 things. Based on that response, which is consistent with them, I see they got this one down. So now I only got 3 things to teach them. There's another thing that they see sort of kind of got, we can let that ride, but I'll focus on these 3 now. And I can't do that unless I listen, both by way of sight, by way of ear. That's why you got 2 eyes, you got 2 ears, and technically you got 2 nostrils. You got 1 nose, but there's 2 nostrils. There's 2 nostrils, and then there's a channel that all that goes into and processes into the brain. So I gotta listen. As teacher, I gotta study to be quiet around you. So I know how best to serve you. Watch you, let you do what you do, let you be free, make your mistakes, make your successes, see how you deal with them when you get when you have victorious moments, when you have failing moments, and all those different types of things. So you want to make sure that you are conscious enough to listen. So you got to study to listen. You got to study to be quiet, which triggers listening, hearing. And then the student has to realize, yes, I'm on a path and we're excited. I'm excited and we're getting this place, but you have to study to be quiet because your mind is already racing on the possibilities and the potentials of, if I get this, if I learn this, I can do this, I can set that, I can be here, I got new vision, I got new plans, I got all this. And just because it's not coming out your mouth, when someone of wisdom is sharing with you or engaging you, your head can be thinking so much that you can't hear in your ears the person speaking to you wisdoms that you say you're there to learn, because you are listening and having so much going on in your head. You haven't studied to make your soul and your mind quiet while wisdom speaks, while truth speaks. How many of y'all know that you can be sitting in a sermon? I need some of y'all to talk to me. Matter of fact, can we do a drill? Can I get 2 people to work with me on this, if possible?
Rogers.
Elder Rogers, I'm looking down, and Regina Roundtree, you there? Elder Roundtree?
Yes, sir, I'm here.
Can you be used?
Yes, sir.
Good. Who else I got down here? Dr. Valerius, are you there? Can you be used? I need 1 more person. Dr. Rosenberg, can you be used?
Jackie.
Minister Jackie, thank you, beloved. All right, so here's the catch. Roundtree, and I want everybody else to listen to this. I want to use you on the second part. Elder Rogers, I want you to say ABC. I want you to count I want you to say the alphabet. Okay? When I say so. Elder Rogers, can you do it?
Yes, sir.
All right.
Yes, I can.
On the count of 3, now I'm going to take the role of being your teacher. You're going to take the role of being the student. I want you to say the alphabet, sing it the way you learned it. All right? And I want you to do that when I count to 3. Now, for the rest of you, this manipulative is going to be that me counting is what should be heard. But at a certain point of what should be heard, it triggers them to have questions, and or not just questions, but just have something to say, whether they feel they're adding value to what's being said or they're trying to understand what's being said. You're going to see a very visual and audible explanation for something deep. All right. So Elder Rogers, I'm going to actually let you start it when I get to 5. Okay. Once I get to 5, you start the alphabet and sing it, because that's what you learned, the way you learned it when you were a child. All right. Everybody pay attention to this. It gets very interesting. Ready? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Elder Rogers?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
What was 2 numbers ago?
15?
No, I stopped at 15.
I really don't know.
I know you don't. I stopped at 15. Do y'all see that?
Yes. Yes. So much for multitasking.
Now I'm gonna ask it again. Do y'all see that?
Yes. Yes. Yes, sir.
So there's a difference in listening and hearing when truth that you are there to learn is sharing, because it can trigger you to have a conversation both verbally and or mentally in your mind. All right. All right. Elder Roundtree. I also got Minister Jackie too, right? Yes. Elder Roundtree, you're going to do my second demonstration. Elder Roundtree.
Yes, sir. I'm here. You were talking, so I
No.
didn't
If you were listening, I was just, you heard me talking out loud. I was also recognizing who I had with me. I had you and Minister Jackie. So I'm engaging you now. So Elder Roundtree, what I want you to do, what's your favorite pastime? Wait a minute. I think I remember. Coffee?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So what I want you to do, and I need you to really do this. I don't know, you know your kitchen structure and everything like that. I want you, once I get to 5, to start thinking about making your best recipe for a cup of coffee. I've heard you talk about coffee every time we've had a meeting. All right. You even try to educate me on coffee, right? So you think coffee, don't you?
I eat, sleep, and dream coffee, sir.
There we go. Perfect. So now you're saying you need to learn the cadence of the you need to learn now the cadence of this number system. So the lesson you come to me to learn is the number system, right? Now, when I get to 5, you're listening. But when I get to 5, I want you to go full throttle thought about how to make your best coffee and what you're going to do. Pots, pans. I don't know if you boil water, steam water. I don't know what you do. I don't know if you spit water. I don't know what you do, but I want you to go full thought in making this best cup of coffee for the world. Are we ready? Everybody else pay attention. So when I hit 5, you start your thought process, okay?
Yes, sir.
And follow me and everything else until then, okay?
Mm-hmm.
All right. 1, 2, 3. Elder Roundtree, what was the last two, the 2 numbers before this one I was on?
1.
Okay, great. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. 19, 18, 17, 16, 15, 13, 12, 22, 27, 31, 89, 62. Elder Roundtree, what was the two numbers before my last number?
I don't know.
What?
I don't know.
How far are you? Thank you. I heard you, dear. I'm pausing for effect. We're on platform. We can hear you fine. What was the last process you were on and your thought about that coffee?
That I had to get the butter out of the refrigerator.
Butter? Coffee and butter? What are you talking about?
Those who know, know.
Yes.
I'm gonna leave you alone. I'll talk about it another day.
Inquiring minds.
We will make a program to teach me how butter and coffee go together. That's interesting enough for me. Thank you for educating me. Now, for the purpose of the manipulative, were you present in the class? Was she present? Was Elder Roundtree present in the class?
Yes, sir. She was.
Or was she?
Okay, that part. Yes.
She was in her kitchen opening butter. Y'all not gonna talk to me.
She was focusing on what she was making.
She wasn't making it. She was in a class, but in her mind,
Yes, in her mind.
she was, listen, y'all chill, y'all thinking this, and that's another example of that. You're not here to defend, we're teaching a principle. Just listen. Doesn't require remarks from anybody other than questions presented. We were in a class. The lecturer, the teacher was teaching numerics. Had their attention while we were on numeric 3. They knew to go back and say it was 1. When we got to 5, something triggered, whether it was 5 cups of sugar, teaspoons of sugar, drips of coffee. 5 did something and she began to think outside of where she was. And though she could hear white noise, the numbers being run, her mind was clear and vivid on what was in her head. So in her head, though her mouth was not talking while the teacher was talking, she couldn't hear because she had not studied to be quiet to hear what she wanted to be educated on. Do y'all see that?
Yes. Amen.
Okay. And so now when the teacher comes back and says, hey, what was the last 2 numbers I hit? I don't know, but what do you know? Butter. Had they studied to be quiet? Not intentionally. They didn't. They just got caught up. That's why he says study to be quiet. You gotta really make that an intention. Because I do it too. I can be talking to you in a meeting and my mind is in another crisis that I'm like, okay, how long this meeting gonna take so I can get to that crisis and fix that problem over there? And though I hear you, I gotta make my business, this person needs my whole 100% attention. I make notes from the last meeting. So when this meeting is over, I can go back to those notes, which triggers those thoughts from that meeting. But this meeting requires my 100 and undivided attention. What are we talking about, Apostle? Why are you treating us like we children? I promise you I'm not. Minister Jackie.
Yes.
Last one. You ready?
I am.
Okay. Now, this one's a little bit different than what I gave Elder Rogers and what I gave Minister Roundtree. I want you to where are you presently, if you don't mind me asking? Where are you presently?
I'm in my bedroom.
Cool beans. And you chilling, relaxing, and all that good stuff, right? Now I want you to follow me in your mind. Can we do that?
Yes.
And on this one, I want everybody to join in, but Minister Jackie is the only reference point I want to speak to. After that, we'll open up for everybody. So everybody, look at where you are, right? You see where you are, right? Minister Jackie and I are going to take a journey, and you're allowed to follow this journey. Now, Minister Jackie, I want you to close your eyes if you're safe. And I want you, Minister Jackie, to go to your car in your head. Go to your car. Take your keys. Go to your car. Open your car door. Sit down in your car. Put the key in or push the button, start your car. Put your car in gear. Foot on the brake. And now I want you to turn your radio on. Or get your music going in your car. Look up out the window. What's in front of you? Look at your hood of your car. All right. Make sure you got the volume up on your music. You know what? Put the car in park. Turn the car off. Open the door to the car. Get out. Go back inside your house. Get a glass of water. First, get the glass from the cupboard where you keep the glasses. Then open the refrigerator door. Shut the refrigerator door and go to the sink and draw water from the spigot into your cup. All right, open your eyes. Minister Jackie, where are you?
I'm in my kitchen.
Right now, you're in your kitchen, right? But where did you say you were standing before we started this?
In my bedroom. Okay, I get it.
And the point of these three manipulatives, as I teach to managers all over the country, as I teach to pastors all over the globe, as I teach to up-and-coming students of the gospel and those who are in other genres that I actually have some sort of authority in, I help people understand that though we are present, we're not always in that moment. And so what's being taught can sometimes get missed because our mind is very vivid. So being quiet, studying to be quiet is not necessarily about your mouth being shut and your tongue guarding your lips, your lips guarding your tongue. It's also shutting down the noise in your mind, the vivid imagery in your mind, while what you are there to learn is being taught. So if I can engage one volunteer on platform today, under Minister Jackie's analogy, can I get a volunteer to talk about it that followed that? Any volunteers?
Doreen. Mama D.
Thank you, Doreen. Sorry, Mama D. Doreen I heard her first. Doreen?
That's all right.
Doreen, where were you when it started and where were you when it ended?
I was in the kitchen, and when it ended, I was in the kitchen.
Where were you in the kitchen when it started?
At my kitchen table.
But you ended up in the kitchen where?
Still at the table.
That's where your sink is?
Excuse me?
That's where your sink is? That's where you draw water
No.
from at your table?
No, it's not.
Okay. So did you follow the manipulative in your mind? Did you close your eyes and do the drill that she did?
Yes, I did.
But you ended up back at your table.
Yes, I did.
You know, that's a big problem. It's a bigger problem.
Right. Okay, then. I would have told what was going on in my mind. What I was doing.
That's a huge problem. The level of disobedience.
I do apologize. I'm so sorry.
But that actually aids the point, because we will do what we need to do and what we want to do. So thank you, Doreen, for joining into that.
You're most welcome.
The reason I bring those things up is because being quiet in our mind, even that with Doreen, meant that she was not in her head. She was still doing something else other than the instructions she was hearing to do, which should have left her where, y'all? Where should it have left her at if she had been listening to those instructions intently?
At the sink.
Should have left her at the sink. How she get back to the kitchen table, I don't know. Maybe her table and sink connected. She had to that's her story. I don't know, but we hear what we want to hear. So when leaders and aspiring students, I love the way that we always use the phrase, and I attribute this to Pastor Spencer, and though it's been something we've taught for years, she just brought it up one day and we just ran with it again. And that was when truth speaks, wisdom listens. And all of us in our education efforts and our tracking out higher learning are seeking wisdom. You get that by virtue of procuring knowledge. Once you procure knowledge, you utilize knowledge, learn how to use knowledge, how to use it heavily, how to use it lightly, how to use it firmly, how to use it softly, and then you ascertain wisdom. Because knowledge is not the power. Knowledge properly managed is wisdom, and wisdom is that power. So when we are doing this, a lot of people, we go to school. That same thing we just did right there is school. And we sit down and we learn, but we know we're physically in a place. We know we've committed to a teaching. We know we've committed to a thing, but yet our mind is still running around in our own world. And while doing so, we can miss certain points. The first analogy was with the alphabet and the actual numerics. And Elder Rogers was unable, she was close though, she was unable to know what the last two numbers were, but she sort of kind of, knew that we were around 15. Then when we talked about with Elder Roundtree, her situation was, I don't know which one we were at, but I know I got some butter in my hand. When we're talking to Minister Jackie, she knows she started off physically in her bedroom, but when she opened her eyes, she, following instructions, was mentally in her kitchen. But she was physically in her bedroom. The track she took was from obeying the instructions. Now, the reason I used the volunteer was because I knew that anybody else taking this ancillary, taking this, the word, I lost it, listening to this, a bystander, hearing it, they're not as focused as she is because she knows she's on a drill. We purposefully leave that drill. We purposefully leave that manipulative at the end of the previous two analogies or manipulatives so that the person who's third is literally focused. They did it right, but the person who was also in the class, they ended up somewhere else, even though they heard the same exact instructions that the subject did. Did y'all not see that coming? So when we're learning things, we are still always loud in our minds, and we have to learn to study to be quiet. The teacher does. I have to learn and be quiet after I've given an assignment, after I've given an instructive, to see how they reply, not judge it, but assess it. Quiet. How did they take that? Where did they go with it? How did they end up over there as opposed to where the instruction said? And I have to be quiet and watch that and let them be loud. Let them live it. And then I can assess it and then come back using it, not judgmentally, but as an assessment, a new tool that can help us direct them, prod them, the student, into the pathway that they have agreed to learn. Without telling them, you always do this, you always do that, but just use it calmly and politely and rightly. So whenever I do this, they usually go this way. So let me help get them around this way. I'll use this. And that takes time. Somebody say relationships take time.
Relationships take time.
Relationships take time.
It takes time.
Relationships take time.
Relationships take time.
Relationships take time.
Now, I want to make sure we catch this within ministry. I want to catch this within jobs, managers, HRs, directors, supervisors. I want you to catch this. In education, degrees take time. Just because you read the textbook, just because you read the syllabus, don't mean you get it. You got the textbook, you got the syllabus, but you might not know the context of the content unless the author is there to help you with the idioms, the coin phrases that have been used. So we have to make sure that we're not creating new textbooks of our own experience when we say, when I was a child, I put away childish thing. When I became a man, I took on, I thought like a man, I think like a man. Messiah did something very great for us. He came. Titus tried to explain it to us. And he says, for the grace of Elohim that brought us salvation appeared unto humanity, teaching us that denying ungodliness and worldly lust, we should live this way. So the teacher is only going to share with you the governance, the edict, i.e. syllabus, textbook, and suggest, based on the credence of that textbook, this is how it should be done. Now, if you read that textbook, not listening all the time, and then you go home and do the homework and you come back and didn't listen to the lecture fully while you were at class, you're going to come back with something that could get you a lower grade because you did not follow all the instructions, and you may have even gone and Googled something when they told you stay within the text. And when you Google it, you come back and use what you Googled, and they're like, that's not what we told you to do. KYC, can I get a witness?
Yes. Amen.
No comment.
Yes.
Who said no comment? And you think that, okay, this is going to supplement my information. And you know what? They gave me the syllabus. They told me to do this character study. They gave me the person they want me to study. I could just Google them online. And we told you specifically, do not go to commentary and only use the writ. Use your concordance and learn the character. Sometimes we just too busy. Sometimes we just didn't even realize we did it. And we Googling, we binging, we duck going, and we pulling up stuff and got these little apps and these commentaries like, well, Peter was this and John was this, James is this, and they was over here, and they come back and we all deep. And then you come back to the homework assignment where you're supposed to turn it in, and you telling me what you learned from Right Reverend Google and Mother Prophetess Bing. And we told you to stick with Yeshua, the rabbi of all rabbis, and stick to the writ. And you went over there to Right Reverend Bing and Right Reverend Google and Mother Prophetess Bing. And now you brought your homework back. Is that homework going to be right?
No.
See, some could say, well, I mean, wait a minute, Apostle, it could be right. It could be right. Perspectives could come in. It could be right. It could be, but it won't be, because the instructions were what? The instructions were to use only this textbook. Do y'all get that? So in order to be, and I'm going to conclude here, I want you to catch this. I did not draw y'all out, did not give you clickbait. This is more important than we think. And I don't mean to make it sound like you always say that. Just hear me on this. Just hear this. Don't hear me, hear this. When we have aspiring students and aspiring leaders, those young people aspiring to be the leaders of the future, and then they're going up with those leaders who are in position, whether they've fallen, whether they got their education through the School of Hard Knocks, or they got their education through a line of matriculation from higher learning and universities and institutions, or whether or not the fact that they just have this wisdom and they're there with you and they're sharing with you. When we look at those seasoned leaders, they will all come back and tell you that the hardest thing for any leader to do is to follow. So it is inherently an issue with aspiring leaders that once they start learning the knowledge and the data of a thing, that they think they understand the thing. So that's why the mentorship is so important. Miles, could y'all help me, please? That's why the mentorship of the teacher to the student is imperative. Now you got some teachers out there manipulating the students and trying to get them to do what they want because they want to now live vicariously through their student, because now they got it. They couldn't get it done. Now they know how to do it, and now they're gonna live vicariously through somebody else, and they're gonna make them their muse. Y'all, their mule. You can't do that. So you got to know that there's these exceptions inside of the process. But the true process of leadership and a teacher teaching a student is that the teacher cares that the student succeeds at it. A true teacher becomes later on one who simply wants to be the support system to say, hey, you've got the good knees to go out there and do the dance. My knees is rubbing together, and I need ibuprofen when I try to do that dance. Here, I'll show you and teach you what the dance is supposed to be. You still got the young body to get it done. You dance it. I'll just keep feeding you the right information so you keep making the right moves. And this way also, if you should slip and fall, you won't fall far. You'll fall right here. And then we can, as we helped guide you before, help guide you back to your feet quicker, stronger, and with more efficacy. And then you, after being taught, now start looking for another who's aspiring to be a leader. And now that you follow, because most leaders that I'm seeing right now within Christendom are most leaders are primarily just speakers who went to school to learn something and then came back and started talking about it, but don't understand it. But you can make money at it, so you talk about it. And if you talk about it, as long as it sounds well, it sounds articulate, then people technically won't try you on it. And you can just get it over and say, hey, you need this, and people will be inspired. You did that. You encouraged somebody. But your information may not be accurate, because having textbook knowledge and then testimony knowledge are two different things. I'm going to say it again. Having textbook knowledge and testimonial knowledge are two different things. Do y'all understand what I'm saying?
Amen.
So when the leaders of the day who are just propagators of a subject, a topic, a concept, can make it make sense, but haven't lived it, haven't failed in it, haven't lived in a mediocre stance with it, haven't found out how to increase from mediocre to success within it, haven't learned how to have success and then fall from that success and then back into mediocrity and then dig themselves back out again. See, that's a teacher. That's a testimonial. And just because we can tell you, oh man, you need to diversify your portfolio and put your money in this stock and put your money in that stock and then go over here and invest over here and all this. And it sounds good because it looks good on paper to the accountant and while you were at the MBA school. But until you actually get to the stock market or you get to the banks and you get into SEC and you start getting into the treasury and you start realizing, oh, that sounds good, but it may not work. If you hit a certain window, you slide right through. But there are times you hit a brick wall and lose everything. That's what I want everybody to understand. Teachers have to learn and be quiet to see how the student is processing information. Students have to learn how to be quiet, study how to be quiet, so they can deaden the prior information while learning the wisdom they clearly see they need from an entity that is actually doing what they aspire to do. Things may change. Technology may change from their 40-year time of getting that same information this person at 18 is getting now. But the principle, somebody say the principle remains the same.
The principle remains the same.
I want to actually repent for boring y'all with this conversation. And I hope that you all were able to listen to this. But one thing I want you to walk away from is this. One thing I want you to walk away with. One thing I want you to walk away from here with is this. One of the most difficult things for aspiring leaders to do, even though they say they want to learn and know, is for them to follow. Because most aspiring leaders are already leaders in their lesser dimension world. I shouldn't say lesser dimension. I should say their previous dimension world. When you become a leader, you really usually are the creme of the crop of the group you're in. And because you're the creme of the crop in the group you're in, following becomes problematic because you've been leading. So to lead has this kryptonite in it called following. But if you learn following, it can be not kryptonite. It can be your power pill. I'm going to say this and I want to make it a quote. I need a meme for it. I'm going to select some people to do it for me. C. Marie, I want you. I want Elder, Greg's not here, okay. Roundtree and Wanda. Good, I see both y'all. Wanda, Roundtree, and Marie. I want you each to give a visual meme on the verbiage I'm about to give y'all. And I want everybody else to take it as a quote, because I want multiple looks at this and I want to post it different times of the year. So I would like to have the three of you take that charge on, if possible. Can I get a commitment? My bad, I'll make it myself. I don't worry about it. I'll do it myself.
Yes, sir.
I got it.
Absolutely.
It's okay.
Right from the iPad.
You got your butter in your hand, I know. Wanda got somebody hair in their hand. C. Marie probably got somebody baby in their hand. So I get it. I get it. Y'all busy. All right, so here's the catch. Listen to this, y'all, and learn from it. In order to be a leader, it is mandatory that you are a good follower. In order to be a good leader, it is mandatory for you to be a great follower. In order to be a great leader, it is mandatory that you are first and progressively and in perpetuity an excellent follower. Problem with leaders, we forget to hone our craft by always being submitted and following. That's what keeps us leading. There it is. So, students, teachers, and each of you will be in this role depending on relationships in your life. You can be a student and yet still be a teacher, be it same genre or different genre. But the thing I want everyone to remember, and I'm so glad I had Apostle T.R. Malone and the other elders in my life when I was coming up, I was one, I would get information. And this is when I was much younger. I would get information and then I'd run tell that. Man, I'd run tell that information. I mean, studious stuff. I'd run tell it. And God said this, and God said that, and the Bible said this, and over here this Bible. And I'm sitting there talking to this brother named Blue Bowman. I'll never forget him. He was a minister and he was from my street. He was from my hood. Blue was an OG, okay, who turned to God later in life. Okay, so he was that guy. You saw Blue, you moved out the way. All right, so you respected, you paid homage to the OG because he really went through some stuff and he turned his life around through success, through failure, through everything that you could go through in the hood, right? And I remember seeing him, and he was glad I was saved. I was so glad he was saved. So the first time we met, I was like, "Woo, I got saved." Like, man, stay in here. I'm glad to see that, right? A couple of weeks later, I met him again. I had been studying, and he had admonished me to study. I'm like, okay, cool. I'm studying. I'm with my apostle, just fresh in. and Fresh Back, and I'm studying, and I'm getting all this information. And now I'm learning how to connect all these scriptures, but I didn't understand the scriptures. I was really connecting the scriptures because they may have had the same word in them, right? And then it sounded good because I was now on the evangelism team, because a person like me and Blue, who come from the streets, now turned to Elohim. We had what they would call a Christian and a testimony, and we needed to go back to let them that knew us in that environment see us now different. And maybe we can pull them out of that environment. That's the testimonial evangelical movement. Man, it was cool. We did all that, but I would get around him, and then I start rattling off all these scriptures, and he looking at me like, yeah, that's cool, man. That's good. And I'm thinking initially that he's like mad because I'm able to do it. And I actually did, in my arrogance, thought, I mean, he ain't getting with me, you know, because where I'm coming, my church group, when we start talking like that, we just start running, right? And then I'm like, well, he's sitting up here like, you know, maybe he mad that, you know, I can spit them off. He's like, man, you really got those, you really got a lot of those passages. And I'm spitting them off. And every time we talk, and I can't say nothing without a Bible verse. That was me. Can't say nothing without a Bible verse. Can't say nothing without some new revelation I learned from my hermeneutics class, you know. And I remember that one day he said that, he looked at me and he's like, but do you understand it? And he wasn't being negative. He was like, it's going to help you. All those passages are going to be weapons of your warfare that are not carnal. But be careful how you sling them. Because if you don't know how to use them, even in a conversation with me and you could cut me and kill me. Because you don't have to use those weapons. Do you understand them? Do you know when to brandish them? Do you know when to wield them? Do you know when to yield them? That moment, he became one of my mentors. From a different perspective of how to live in the kingdom. Brother's going on to be with Elohim now. But I've had some great teachers when the student was ready that appeared. I didn't ask for him. I didn't search him out. When I started living it, Yahweh put them in pathway. The worst thing we can ever do is ill-interpret what Yahweh put in your path. So for the leaders within the kingdom and all the pastors that are out there, we oftentimes do this thing as pulpiteers. Sometimes I say puppeteers. Yep. Sometimes I say it. Pulpiteers sometimes take on roles if they're not authentic, and they are technically puppeteers because they're only going to propagate what the organization of preference and denomination of preference is saying, not studying to show themselves approved to Elohim, but unto the bishop, unto the organization. Every bishop, every apostle, prophet, higher up, overseer should be pointing people to Elohim, not to their version of him. So when we have the pulpiteer, in some cases, which can become a puppeteer, grabbing a young one coming up, the young one may not, that young one is not to be grabbed and made to learn. That student that appears, that student that is ready, is going to be one who is saying, I'm really legitimately curious and I want to learn. It can't be that the prophet, the apostle, the evangelist, the pastor, the teacher, the bishop, the overseer, the superintendent, whatever other titles we threw out there, can come down and say, I'm going to teach you, I'm going to cultivate you, I'm going to nurture you. Because that student's not ready. You are. And what you're ready for ain't what Elohim wants. And now you start making servants of you instead of seekers of Elohim. And if you really care, you're going to be patient to wait to see how the student that is ready to go higher, you're going to watch how they move. They're going to make mistakes. They're going to make mistakes. They're going to mishandle you. You're going to look at them and you possibly will be like, yeah, I mishandled that too. My bad. We're going to figure that out though. But they will have the patience. And any real good leader is not going to make you subservient to them. If you give them the time, they're going to make you greater than them. You see, that's how you know you got a real teacher. But any good mentor in kingdom, any good rabbi, Rabboni, sage, is going to study to be quiet to hear the new data you present. And then take that new data, go back privately away from you, and filter what you are through the word so that they always have a word to help guide you. Might want to make that a reel. But those who tell you, oh, yeah, I'm going to take you under my wing. You're going to be my armor bearer. You're going to be my this, and you're going to be my adjutant. And they really just manipulated somebody into becoming their personal servant, touting Elijah and Elisha, touting Yeshua and the disciples. Yeah, that's not it. Study to be quiet so you can hear. The more you hear, not just listen to, the more you understand. You will hear how and when to be compassionate, how and when to be corrective, how and when to be reproving, how and when to be expanding the envelope. That's why we say patience is virtue. Just listen. Don't rush because of a preconceived idea. A lot of times when students are listening to their teacher and they may be anxious, they think, okay, wow, I am ready. And genuinely ready. But when they start to listen and the teacher takes its time, they're like, we got to get moving because I already got an idea of where this is supposed to be going. And they start getting, in their head, these preconceived ideas. And now the words of the teacher, which have slowed down, are hitting these fast running images in this student's mind. And the student's like, we need to be doing this. We need to be over here. We need to be over here. And the teacher's like, hey, whoa, wait a minute. Just relax. You're right. We can, but now is not the right time. Just hold on. We're going to get there. Once you master all the ways to handle those wonderful preconceived ideas and all the other images you have from other places, while you're doing this, it requires you to be quiet. Quiet your mind. Learn the information. Now you'll know how to utilize the preconceived ideals of the past. It's not that those ideals are dead or that those ideals are wrong or that those ideas should not be done. They require a wise entity, a learned entity, to wield them. That's what teachers and mentorship does. Now, you do have teachers and mentors who want to rape you of those ideas. And then they want to put trademarks on those ideas. They want to get you to, in confidence, tell them your idea, your God-given witty inventions, and then say, oh, well, this is my son and daughter, this is my mentor, mentee, and we were talking, so God told me to take this vision and run with it. And now the student has been stripped, technically handled. And the teacher goes on and looks for others that they can mine fresh ideas from. When you got a real teacher is not looking to mine the ground. They're looking to help fertilize the ground so that the ground can keep producing what it uniquely produces. So when the ground says, hey, I'm dry, no problem, got some water for you. How's your producing coming this month? Oh, man, I got some ideas. Can I run these by you? Sure, let's talk about it in the RIT. To everything there is a season and a time, to every purpose under the heavens. And one of the worst things we've done within Christendom is miss the time of Elohim. Race isn't given to the swift, nor to the strong, but to he or she who endures to the end. Pastors, teachers, when it comes to the students that you are finding have said, I'm ready. And they're not going to be the ones, hey, I'm ready to go. I want to learn this. I want to do this. I want to do the other. I want to go here. I want to be here. Let's go. We got to get it. I know what to do next. I got this. I got the other. Let's move. Let's rock. They're not ready. It's not that you disregard what they're doing. They're not ready. Can I give y'all one more testimonial and let y'all go? I don't know what I'm talking about because I lived it.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. You can.
Yes, please.
I just got one more testimonial so y'all know that I know what I'm talking about because I lived it a few times. I remember when I came back I told y'all I left Christendom, went into Islam down in Atlantic City. We call it back of Maryland. I was down at Shabazz. And I had been in it for a while because I didn't like what took place in my life at a time about God hating divorce. And so I became a bit militant, really against Christians. I didn't like, though my family was, I didn't like Christians. I didn't like that God would put something in his book about that. And it didn't set right with me in my young, militant, rambunctious mind. So I went and found something that looked like the type of militia I wanted to be a part of. And I don't say that to be negative towards any of the groups of NOI that I was a part of. They're good brothers. They just believe different, right? So I began to study NOI, Nation of Islam, quite well. Fortunate part was we studied the Torah as much as we studied the Quran. But something happened. I left my studies and my pursuits of becoming an imam, which means like a pastor in NOI. And so I went through a stint where I was trying to find myself, ended up coming back into Christendom. Long story short, came back to the church that I left many, many years ago and sat with my apostle. We talked. I'm a manager. I'm training managers. I'm doing okay. Got a little small family. Children are very small. And I began to, I was there for some years, and I really heard through the book of Ephesians a passage resonate with me. And so one day, after many times of reading this and pushing that thought down, no, I don't want to be no minister. I don't want to be a part of this. Suddenly it hit me. And so I went to my apostle after a Sunday morning service. I got an appointment, met her in her study, and said, I just heard these words in Ephesians, and it's been pushing at me for months. She looked at me and said, because it was several years I had to come back now, she says, it's about time. I've been waiting for you for 2 years. Because I had been fighting it, warring against it, because I love God. I loved her. I didn't like the church people. And then I'm also dealing with what I learned in Islam and how I used to fight with these church people, some of the stuff, some of the preachers that would come up and preach. I'm like, that ain't even in the word. I didn't know that I didn't know what all this would do to me, the way it's left me today. So I go into my apostle's office and I say, well, I heard this. And she says, good. It's about time. I've been waiting for 2 years. I'm like, so you knew he was calling me? Yeah. But you got to be ready. I left. She said, we'll talk. She went on a trip somewhere, 2 weeks, somewhere in Africa. And she came back and she got me on the books to see her. I came in to see her. I said, I'm ready. You knew it. Now I got confirmation, because I thought it was me being arrogant, me always getting to be the center of attention and whatnot, and always thinking, because everything I got into, I ended up being a captain in, right? And so I said, I thought it was me, but you're telling me you got confirmation, so I'm ready. Let's go. She says, fine, we'll start studying. Come back the next Sunday, and I'm going up in her office all, elated, and I'm like, we get ready to get down. So she got all these books. Oh my, we had a Bible college then, right? Which is what I went to. And so all these books in her office, and I'm thinking she's gonna give me one of these big books, and this book over here, and the Vines book over here. She's gonna let me use this, and maybe she'll let me use one of her personal Bibles that she's been studying out of, because we write notes in our Bibles, and those things are nuggets of good. And I'm thinking I'm gonna get all this, and I go in there, and she gave me I'm a manager. I'm a mid-level manager of a union of Miller Brewing. My testosterone is on 1,000, and my desire and anxieties to be what God wants me to be are at 1,000. Y'all know you can't do that, so we had 100. Anyway, I go in. My expectations are she's gonna give me all these books in a book bag I can take home, pull on my bed, pull on my study, and just pour into them, right? Like I do with my jobs. This woman gave me a crayon book. I'm expecting her to pull and go. I'm expecting her to go like she's doing the Dewey Decimal System and looking through the books on the counter. We had bookshelves looking in. All right, here, take this one, and here, Jones, take this one, and here's take this one. Come back to me next week. That's what I'm expecting. She gives me a little green and white crayon book called Discover Your Faith by Ruth Roshti, or somebody Roshti. A fill in the blanks coloring book pamphlet. You want to talk about a shock and a stab and a shot to my ego? I walked out of there respectful because it's my apostle. But I promise you, I cussed when I got out that church. See what the? I ain't been saved too much long. Man. And I was infuriated. Never told her. Never said anything to her. But by next week, this thing was only this big. The pamphlet was only that big. And some of y'all know the book, right? Discover Your Faith, because we teach y'all from it to this day. She gives me this book. It's only 8 chapters long, and it's bent over. It's basically you take a pack of paper you get to put into your printer. I put it in my printer over there, and I put it in my printer, and you just take a pack of paper. Just take 10 pages of paper, and fold them over. Give you 20, and then put a staple in the joint, perpendicular, and then put a cover on it. That's how many pages was in this book. 8 chapters. 20 pages long. That's it. The insult to me. I'm learning theories on logistics and warehousing and computer science and understanding all these other accounting programs. And I'm at the Dale Carnegie School of Learning in New York. I'm running up and down to Covey, Franklin stuff. I'm being educated. She gives me a crayon book. I will all but disassemble you if you try to take that crayon book from me today. I mean, I will take your fingers off that touched it. If you ain't looking at to look at it, you trying to take it, you will be in trouble trying to get that out of my hands. So what I'm saying is, I had all these plans, all these visions, all these things. And she basically said, here, learn this first. Discover your faith. I'm educated, man. I'm making money. I'm over warehouses and men and union men, and I'm writing contracts by and between the union and my company for my union barn. This is no little buster. And you gave me a crayon book to learn from? I'm gonna give that crayon book to every one of y'all. That's because it took that for me to realize, though I got visions, I got dreams, I got understanding, I got ideas, they were predicated from a different world, though effective, though necessary, though in alignment with present day technology. In order to work in the kingdom with them, I had to slow down and learn the kingdom. That's why when a lot of people come into ministry with me, they get frustrated, like, you ain't let me do nothing. Just chill. We got you. Because I have to be quiet. I have to study to be quiet. I'm so glad I had a teacher that wanted me to be greater than them and did not use me for their benefit, but pushed me into a relationship with the Father for the kingdom's benefit. To this day, that person will always be honored in my life as someone who cared about my relationship with the Father spiritually. Did they make mistakes? Did we have verbal spats because my young ego and me rushing and telling them, and then they have to put me in check? Yes. Study to be quiet. If students coming into ministry, though you may have been in ministry elsewhere, you got certain situations where this ain't that. Yes, I want to use the Ebonics. This ain't that. You got to do this differently. I get what they did, but we don't do that this way. And here's why. And until we learn how to handle those ideas and not find ourselves in the genre of where those ideas come from, we can use that tool, but rightly over here. Well, they use it like this. I don't care how they use it over there. I see the damage that's caused by using it that way. Here is how it's used for the kingdom. Does that make sense, Zion? Have I wasted your time? Have I wasted y'all proceeding word time?
Oh, no.
Not at all. Not at all.
All right. Well, this is Apostle B.W. Jones. Y'all think part two? Can y'all handle part two of this?
Definitely. Yeah. Very enjoyable. That was just for me.
Yahweh be praised. And I want you to understand this because it becomes everything. And when we're doing certain things, and we're saying certain things, and we're trying to walk out certain things, we have to be guided. I don't mean handled. Because a lot of organizations will take what you say, hey, I want to do this. I want to do, oh, wonderful. Go get at it. Go. There you go. Woo! Look what the Lord has done. Look what God is doing. And God ain't in that. He says, be still and know me before you market me. Because when you market me, there will be an interest. And when those interested come back, you better have an answer for those inquiries. Not just a galvanizing speech or spiel that makes them sit in your pew and never approach to me. These things grasp my soul. Now that's me speaking as I understand the writ and the relationship. But I hope it helps. Father, we thank you for your word and your will and your plan. We thank you for these, your people who have gathered today. I've gone over my time. I do repent. I ask and hope that your words have commandeered and your ideals of the kingdom, using, without necessarily using the Bible, the principles of your word that proceeds from your mouth, that we understand kingdom and not just religion. We understand kingdom and not just business. We understand kingdom and not just empire. Help us. If there's anything that I said that is inaccurate, strike it from the record. More importantly, reveal it back to me that I can then, by you and your guide, go back and correct it. Greater works than anything I could have done shall these people who listen do, as we all listen, hearing you. I thank you. I thank you for what and how you use this vessel. I pray as always for your glory alone. In the matchless name of Yahushua HaMashiach, I pray, I say, Amen. Well, Zion, welcome to the Proceeding Word. We're going to be ending it here right now, letting you guys go. I hope that you have been edified in all things done and spoken. And until we get a chance to meet and chat again, I want you to know that we'll be back here on this coming next Monday, on this coming Wednesday, rather, at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time with part 2 of this conversation. And then we'll also be this week studying on Wednesday evening at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We'll be studying fasting and prayer, the kingdom style. Yep. And then we're going to be looking over again on this coming Thursday at what we call the Bible Book Club. And that's going to be on Thursdays at 7 p.m. We'll be in chapter 22 of Genesis. Then we're going to have the Sabbath Midrash and the studies, both Friday around 11 p.m. Eastern Standard Time and Saturday around 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Then we'll also be dealing with a whole bunch of things. So on this coming Sunday, on Morrow After Sabbath service, which is going to be every Sunday at 10:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, we're going to be teaching on the feast, continuing a series on the understanding and the compliance of the feast of Yahweh, who is our Elohim. These things we'll be talking about on a regular basis, and we'll be talking from the perspective of his word. Remember also that the feast calendar and time is coming upon us. That's going to be April the 4th at sundown, April the 5th at sundown, April the 6th at sundown, April the 11th at sundown. These days, for 24 hours from that sundown, we should be off of work and looking to honor him, bringing and presenting our bodies and our offerings to Yahweh as he has required of us. Hope to see you all then at those times. Know that we love you to life eternal, and we're looking forward to seeing you in this place one more time. Well, as we prepare to leave this space, I hope that you are being honored with the teachings of his word, and that all things for you are as they should be, by his grace.
is the place for you. No need to complicate it. It's best to keep it basic. Open the book, the word is self-approved. He's Alpha and Omega, the answer since the early ages. What you should do is learn about the greatest. Just so you know, our door is always open. Let's study together instead of debating. Share our differences, let love heal all that's broken.
Thank you for tuning in today. I hope that this message has been a blessing to your very life and your soul, and more importantly, your walk with the King. Well, we have come to the end. I hope that you would consider becoming either a partner with us in ministry, or if you're not already a kingdom citizen, consider becoming one. By doing that, you can sow into this ministry so that we are able to continue to teach this type of ministry at a grand scale. Join us on all of our social media platforms and visit our webpage to make your contributions sure. Thank you. Have a wonderful day. Shalom Aleichem.